And before we head back to Dawn, let's start with that breaking news we've been hearing from the Metropolitan Police in the last few minutes or so, that a woman has died after being stabbed at the Notting Hill Carnival. She was attending that event in London on Sunday with her 3-year-old child. The police saying she, though, has now died from her injuries. Cher Maximen was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but as I say, despite the best efforts of medical staff there, she has now died from her injuries, and detectives saying they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure that her daughter, 3-year-old, is safe and looked after. Well, we're also hearing that a top chef attacked in a separate incident during the Notting Hill Carnival has also died. Police found Musi Imnetu unconscious on the streets of Queensway on Monday night before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. However, police say they are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Musi between 1 o'clock on Monday evening and the time of the attack, just before 11:30 p.m. So those two latest lines just coming to us from the Metropolitan Police, that a woman and a man have both died following stabbing attacks, separate incidents at the Notting Hill Carnival over the weekend.
Unfortunately, as you've been hearing from Sam in the news headlines there, we come with breaking news for you that sadly 2 people have died after being attacked in separate incidents at the Notting Hill Carnival last week. Cher Maximen, she was 32 years old, was at the event last weekend on Children's Day on the Sunday when she was stabbed, supposedly trying to break up a fight. She died sadly this morning. Officers gave her emergency medical treatment until the arrival of paramedics at the scene, police have said. But unfortunately, she was transported to hospital in a critical condition and she has sadly now lost her life. Meanwhile, Musi Imnetu, who was a chef from Dubai, was attacked in a separate incident. He was 41 years old and was found unconscious with a head injury in Queensway on the Monday evening. He also sadly has lost his life now, which means that this particular Notting Hill Carnival is one, sadly, where, again, we are seeing a loss of life, which is just not what we wanted. You were certainly praying that both of those people would recover from their injuries. I still have my panel with me, Benjamin Butterworth and Henry Bolton, and I hope you do understand that it feels wrong to talk about anything now apart from this horrific incident. And where we go, I mean, it goes without saying, Benjamin, that, you know, our thoughts are with the people, you know, that have lost loved ones in this, and all the people that have been affected by it. But the endless debate goes on now about Notting Hill Carnival and, you know, is it still right to be holding the carnival in the very narrow streets of Notting Hill itself? Should it be moved somewhere safer, where crowds can be policed and where people are safer?
I mean, Notting Hill is a relatively small area. It gets incredibly congested. In many ways, it's a strange area to have something like this. But, of course, the Notting Hill Carnival came about in response to feelings from the black community, from the Caribbean community, of police oppression, and they decided to set this up as a celebration of their culture, as a display of it. And so, you know, they always set this up as something to embrace their culture and to share it. And it's become something that attracts people from all over the world. It's a famous carnival. It's incredibly beautiful. There are so many people that put so much effort into it. And it's, you know, you only have to look at the videos of the incredible outfits and the joy that clearly the vast majority of 1 million people that attend get out of this. And so, you know, I think it would be wrong, and clearly these people went along and they were there to celebrate it, and it went tragically wrong. But a lot of people enjoy it, and if we cancelled everything where a tragedy happened, where a crime happened, well, there probably wouldn't be much going on. And so I think the real question is about the ability to police it, the effect that gang crime and gang violence and organised crime interacting with the carnival and the difficulty to get down those narrow streets. I think that's the real question. I think there shouldn't be an idea that Notting Hill Carnival shouldn't go ahead, because if that, you know, if you banned that, you'd ban Glastonbury, for goodness sake. You know, similar things happen there, but obviously...
But I mean, to be fair, we don't see knife murders at Glastonbury.
Partly because you can check everybody before they go in.
This is the point.
And so you have to raise these questions of how you can best manage the danger.
Yeah. I mean, Henry, you are a former police officer. You know, the police sting operation for Notting Hill is huge, huge. I mean, my husband was down there helping a friend rig up a sound system, and he was talking to a couple of female police officers from the Met there, and they were saying to him, look, you know, it's great, it's a great atmosphere. It's on Children's Day. It's a great atmosphere at the moment, but it does have a darker side indeed when evening falls. And they were saying, there's two female police officers, they were saying, we don't really want to volunteer to do this shift. It's not something we particularly look forward to. Now, the difficulty is, as a serving member of the Met, to police something of this scale, it must be, it's almost impossible to organise.
I wasn't in the Met, and I never policed Notting Hill, but I have a lot of friends who were police officers and are police officers in the Met and who have policed it. And the problem is there are so many problems. There's the sheer scale of the numbers, but there's also, if there is an incident, how do you make your way through such seething masses to get to it? Either to, whether you're a paramedic or whether you're a police officer, there's very little that you can actually do. And so it is highly problematic. But I think, I mean, whatever carnival you have of this nature, I mean, the Rio Carnival, there's sort of 17 to 25 people are murdered at the Rio Carnival in Brazil every year. There's an element within the carnival goers, the drug dealers, the gang members and so on, who are the people who are really responsible for this. And I do believe that in this country we can do a great deal more to address those sort of problems. The whole knife crime, we heard on the news just now that a 13-year-old lad has very sadly died as well
indeed.
As a result of a stabbing. You know, so we've got these stabbing incidents are becoming more and more common. We have to have a serious conversation as to why that is, and I don't think it's good enough to
Why do you think it is, Henry?
Well, I think that there is a cultural element now that has established itself in British society, particularly the Caribbean community, but it's gone beyond that now, where carrying a knife is a cool, trendy thing to do. You can buy zombie knives for 15, 20, 25 quid, you know, quite easily. I mean, I mean, I'm ex-military as well. These aren't knives that have any other purpose than to inflict injury on people. They're colourful, they're trendy by design so that they attract younger people. And these must be illegal to sell, not just simply to carry, but we shouldn't be selling them. You shouldn't be allowed to buy them in the United Kingdom. And we're not talking kitchen knives here, we're talking about, you know, something totally different. We need to have an honest conversation about the gang culture that has established itself, particularly in London, but also elsewhere now. And out of London, it's moving. I live in Kent, but the gang culture has moved out of London. No, not out of London, but it has grown tentacles that reach down as far as Maidstone and even Folkestone and places like that. And we must, to deal with that, I believe we must have an honest, full and frank conversation about the cultures in which these sort of these criminal activities originate and why they gain traction. Because without recognising that, we're not going to be able to design an appropriate
Benjamin,
solution.
just quickly, because we have to go to a break. What do you make about what Henry's saying about knife crime?
I mean, I think that the Notting Hill Carnival becomes a bit of a tip of the iceberg for a problem that is there all year round.
Yeah.
A lot of these gangland violence is postcode-based. It's based on particular schools people have gone to. And you get a situation, very problematically, where some people are carrying knives as a defence, kids that would openly say they don't want to, but then they're faced with a reality that none of us can really put ourselves in their shoes. And so I think if you were to solve the problems that rear their head at Notting Hill Carnival, then it would be a 12-month a year project. You know, these young people don't get on this road to carrying a knife into drug dealing just on a bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, that's true. There's a deeper underlying issue that surfaces very publicly at the Notting Hill.
It's about education, isn't it? But thank you very much for now, gentlemen. As I said, we are talking about the sad deaths of Cher Maximen and Musi Imnetu, who lost their lives, confirmed today at the Notting Hill Carnival.